There were 766 reported boat accidents in Florida in 2017. 67 of those accidents were fatal. Florida leads the country in boating accidents and boating deaths, with almost 300 more accidents than California, the second highest state. The leading cause of boating accidents in 2017 was the operator's inattention, and the leading type of fatal accident was drowning by falling overboard. Florida law requires boaters born on or before January 1st, 1988, to complete a boating education course. In Polk County, the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary Flotilla 77 offers boating safety classes that teach fundamental boat handling and boat safety. These classes satisfy the state's requirements. Here to tell us more about these boat safety classes and free monthly boat safety equipment checks are Commissioner John Hall and Acting Flotilla Commander Gilbert Thomas. Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Now, Commissioner Hall, you love being out on the water in a boat.
I've grown up in Polk County. I've been here all my life. I've had numerous boats and started skiing as a teenager before there was a requirement for a license or any boating course. So, you know, I think that the boating course and the Coast Guard Auxiliary can help to make our lakes and waterways safer.
Very good. So what sort of information do you teach in the class? First of all, how long is the class?
We start at 8 o'clock and we try to get everybody out there by 5:30. Sometimes, you know, if we do what we call working lunch. Sometimes if we work through the lunch, we'll go an hour earlier and send everybody home earlier. So if everybody's happy with that thought, we do that a lot of times. But during that class, we're going to talk to people who have varying knowledge of boating. And they can start out from 10 years old all the way up to, we've had them as high as 70 years old in that class. So, but basically we're going to talk about the first class will be on the nomenclature of the boat, the different parts, the bow, the stern, what is a transom, and we go over that. And then the second class, second period is trailing your boat, getting the boat on a trailer, taking the trailer to the dock, and getting it ready to prep it. Because you can make a lot of friends prepping your boat at the dock when everybody wants to launch. I always call that a course in how to make friends and influence people, because it isn't good. But basically we want you to do your prep on the road before you get down to the dock. And then the third hour is on navigation and piloting and the navigation system in the United States. The fourth hour goes to maneuvering your boat. I was out last Saturday and I watched one slam the pier. That had to do some damage to that boat, because I saw the whole pier go up like this, and I'm going, wow, he just really came in too fast on that. And that, you know, people think I'm kind of screwy, but I say, take a box out there in the middle of the lake, cardboard box, and practice docking against the cardboard box. You sink the cardboard box, oh well, it's not good, but you don't damage the boat, and it gives you a chance to realize how the helm works and the speed controller, the enunciators, because there is a lag shifting from forward to reverse. Remember, boats do not have brakes.
No.
That can get you into a lot of trouble out there, especially if you come into a dock too fast. You can really do a lot of damage to your boat. The fifth hour, we go through Florida and state laws and general laws. The sixth hour, we go to emergencies such as grounding, collisions, man overboard, and we don't try to teach a first aid class. We don't have the time, nor are we could probably do it if we wanted to, but we're not licensed by the state or federal to do it, so we don't. But we recommend taking a first aid course with the American Red Cross or out at the college first responder course. The last hour is done with the Florida state laws, which are somewhat different sometimes. There are variances between state and federal, especially like with life jackets. If you're in the state of Florida law, if you're on a boat that's less than 26 feet and underway, and you have a child, they have to be 6 and under, have to have a life jacket. If you go into federal waterways, then it becomes 13 years old and under have to be in a life jacket. So
Huh.
there are differences between those laws. But in either case, you have to have a life jacket. And we would wish that everybody on that boat were wearing a life jacket. You know, if you look at the amount of fatalities out there, we had, in 16, we had 685 deaths. And it came out that 76% of them, of those fatalities, drowned. Because 84.5% were not wearing a life jacket. And that drives me up the wall, because it's the simplest thing we could do out there is put on a life jacket and not have that problem, because you don't know when an accident's going to happen. But what's kind of more interesting about the whole issue is that they're cruising. And if you look cruising, and the amount of accidents or fatalities during that one word, cruising, on the water, it's leading in most cases, the number of fatalities. So you don't know when an accident's going to happen. You know, people tell me, well, I can get the life jacket on in the water. Go in your swimming pool, take your life jacket, and go to the deepest end and see if you can really put the life jacket on.
Yeah.
But that's not the, you know, I have a kind of a numeric, and people look at me, it's 50211. And the 50 is, you be honest with yourself, are you physically able to swim 50 yards? Can you do it? Because I was looking at statistics one day, and these guys were all under 35 years old. They were all physically in good shape. They were reported to be good swimmers. I thought, well, that's all in common, okay? And they were all young. I says, yeah, but there's only one problem with this statistic. They're all dead because they drowned. They couldn't swim 50 yards, but they had convinced themselves that they could swim 50 yards. The 2-1 is that 80% of all the people who are fatalities are on a boat that is less than 21 feet. And the one is the one that's really important. You're in the water, you can't touch the bottom, there's nowhere to grab on. It's not like being in your swimming pool at home. There's nothing there. And here's the question. Can you tread water 1 hour?
Yeah.
And if you answer no, either to the 50 yards or to the 1 hour, then I would strongly suggest wearing a life jacket.
Yeah. Well, the average person who goes out to enjoy some of our lakes are fishing or water skiing, and you get so intent on what you want to do when you get there that you don't often think about things like life preservers and things like that. So, but I mean, Parks and Rec in Polk County, we have some beautiful facilities.
Well,
It's an important part of the economy.
I'll tell you a little funny story about what you're talking about. Bass fishermen, when they're in a contest, and I think you'll agree with me, they'll wear that life jacket, because if they don't wear the life jacket while they're in the contest, they lose their entry fee. It's not a well-known fact, but that's true in some of the contests.
Huh.
As soon as you take it off, you're out. But what I was talking about is I was up at Indian Lake Estates teaching a class there, and I was talking about standing, there's a picture where a guy's standing on the bow, but he's wearing a life jacket in this picture. But I says, when you look at bass fishermen, they fish in a group during the contest, they wear a life jacket, but when they're by themselves, they generally fish by themselves. And they're standing on the bow with 1 foot on the trolling motor, off balance. Now, if you fall overboard and hit your head without a life jacket on, who's coming to get you? There's nobody.
Yeah.
And I said, you become one of our statistics. And this gentleman raised his hand. He's got his hand up there, and he says, let me tell you what happened to me. I says, oh, okay, I'm always interested in testimony. So what happened? He says, well, I was doing what you said. And I says, okay. But he says, I fell overboard, but he says, I didn't hit my head. And I've never thought about this, what he was going to say. And he says, what happened is when I came back up to the surface, the boat was caught by the current and the wind, and it was floating away faster than I could swim. And if somebody hadn't come along and picked me up, I would have drowned. And this was in Lake Walking Water, heading in Lake States. And you know, you can say, well, you don't know when an accident's going to happen, but the thing is, if you'd have a life jacket on, even like our Type 5, which is the inflatables, when you hit the water, there's a tablet in there, and that tablet dissolves and it automatically inflates, and it'll bring you back up to the surface. It won't keep your face out of the water, but at least it brings you back to the surface and you have a life jacket on.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can sit here and there's just a ton of things that we learn in these classes about what people do in the near accidents or near death accidents that they have that don't hit these statistics. You know, we can talk about statistics all day long, but it's behind those statistics is a person, and behind that is a family.
Yeah.
And that is a loss to the family, whether it be a father or grandfather. You know, it's not a number, it's a person.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that even when I read the statistics, I have to keep that in mind, that these are people who have drowned.
Yep. Now, one of the other things your organization does is boat safety checks. How does someone find out about where you're doing the boat safety checks?
Basically, we do the vessel safety checks on the second weekend of the month at Lake Ship, at the RG Row ramp, which is across from Amtrak, because Lake Ship has two ramps. One's the older ramp is on the where the Cemetery Park is at. That's the older ramp. We're at the new ramp, which is the bigger ramp. And we inspect the boats from 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the second weekend. Now, if you want us to come out to your house, there's a phone number that you can call us. All you have to do is punch it in, and it's 1-800-596-9688, and a automatic answering service will pick it up, and it'll give you 8 categories where you can go through, and all you do is punch the one for the vessel safety checks and leave your telephone number, and basically we'll either meet you out there on the second weekend or we will come out to your house. Now, the other way to do it is to do the Coast Guard site, which is vessel safety inspections, which is CGAUX.org, vessel safety checks, or just go Google and put U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary vessel safety checks, and it'll take you to the site. Then you put in your information, put in your zip code, and it's automatically sent to the nearest person to come out to your house, and we'll come out to the house and inspect the boat.
Okay.
And it's important to note for the people that are out there that agree to the vessel safety checks, that if it doesn't pass, they're not given a ticket.
Yeah.
They're given information on how to make it come into compliance with all of the laws. So it's to their benefit and to their friends and family's benefit to agree to have the safety checks done.
Nice.
Yeah, we kind of tell them usually what I tell people, I'm the nice guy. I'll tell you what's wrong with it, and I won't give you a ticket. I says the other 3 catch up with you, being FWC or the sheriff or the Coast Guard. They have the ability to give a ticket. Will they give you a ticket? That's their discretion, you know.
Well, any of the 3, the point is to make it as safe as possible, to enjoy yourself as much as you can, and to enjoy the amenities that are out there.
Well, one of the things we get with even brand new boats, they say, well, I just got this boat and it's brand new, I only had it a week. Well, let us look at it. Let's see if you got everything. I was going to go back to what you were talking about the inspections, was this recalling those fire extinguishers. I did want to get that in there. I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is the recall that Kitty has. They're recalling their total production since 1979. And these fire extinguishers can say full, but may not work.
Wow.
And what I want people to do is to go out to their boat and get that fire extinguisher and go to the internet and then or to the telephone and call them, or go on the internet and put in the model and the serial number. If it shows up on the recall, Kitty will replace it.
Okay.
And we just had a couple of our guys just got new fire extinguishers out of that.
Good deal.
All
But
right.
we're talking like 43 million fire extinguishers.
Sure.
Now, it's summertime, school is out. Does that affect boating or the lake activity in any way?
Lake activity increases substantially during the summer. Students are out of school. A lot of times they are given access to water vessels. They're out on the lakes on their own. So it helps them if they have the classes, and especially they have to if they're born after 1988. But any of us that are out there with them, if we can figure out how to prevent accidents and potential injury and or death, it's a benefit to all of us.
Well, gentlemen, thank you both for joining us today.
Well, it's our pleasure, and you know, as much water as there is in Polk County, we need to take time to learn a little bit about boating and water safety.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
In Polk County, home to more than 550 lakes, fishing, water skiing, and eco sightseeing are just some of the ways that you and your family can get out on the water. We hope you have fun and enjoy our amazing water resources. Just be safe.
I don't need it. I can swim.
I'll put it on if something happens.
The weather is fine today. Nothing will happen.
I just don't like wearing it.
Water shortage is a worldwide concern. Conserving water has become important even to those not living in areas under current water restriction. Water conservation efforts such as fixing leaks and replacing older plumbing fixtures with low-flow equipment and careful irrigation monitoring are just some examples of what you can do to conserve water today. Here to talk about how Polk County is planning to accommodate water needs in the future are Commissioner George Lindsey and Assistant County Manager of Strategic Projects, Ryan Taylor. Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
So what do we know about the water consumption we have at present and where we're going in the future?
Well, it's obvious that there's a growing county that we're going to have growing needs for water supply. And our partners in this effort are not only our cities that incorporate the county, but also the Southwest Florida Water Management District. Water Management District is the regulator of water supply in this part of the county, part of the state for us. So we realize that we don't have enough supply to meet future demand, and it's incumbent on us as leaders and elected officials to make sure that supply is present. The Water Management District has made it clear that they're no longer going to have individual cities and the county compete with each other for the limited water supply, and have encouraged that we cooperate together in order to meet those demands. And that's what we've been able to do, putting together our Polk Regional Water Cooperative with our 15 city members and the county. The trend is obvious that the demand is going to exceed supply, so where do we go? Currently our water supply comes from the upper Floridan aquifer, which is about 500 to 600 feet below surface. And that major resource is limited and no longer available. So what are the alternatives? Well, through a lot of planning and a lot of engineering, a lot of studies, it's clear that the most reliable immediately available source is called the lower Floridan aquifer, which is 2,000 to 3,000 feet below the surface. So of course it's going to take more effort and money to get that supply, and the details we're working on right now, having engaged a team of engineers to help us design and test those projects. Ryan has simply recently been named the executive director of our Polk Regional Water Cooperative, in addition to his duties as assistant county manager, and he's taken a leading role in keeping all these folks headed in the right direction. It's my privilege to be chairman this year, but it's going to be a challenge, but we're up to the challenge and we're looking forward to it.
So what are some of these plans?
Some of the plans that we're currently looking at involve two projects that will access the lower Floridan aquifer. We have a project that is being worked on in southeast Polk County that's called the Southeast Wellfield Project, and it's a series of well sites, about 15 well sites that would pull water from the lower Floridan, take it to a water treatment plant, treat it, and then have a distribution line that would connect with our member governments needing that additional capacity. We also have the second lower Floridan project is West Polk, which is in the Lakeland area. It would be a series of well fields again, a series of wells that would provide about 15 million gallons of water through a distribution system again to members that need that capacity. We have a third project that we're currently working on feasibility. Is the Peace Creek Integrated Water Supply Project, and it's a series of holding water, water quality, water quantity, recharge capacity that we're estimating can provide a capacity of about 5 to 10 million gallons of water a day. But it also not just getting that capacity, but also improving the water quality through that project, and which is a vital component of the cooperative itself.
The Peace Creek program is probably the most exciting and the most cutting edge, for lack of a better word. We've been drilling wells in Florida for centuries, so that's not new science. We just go a little deeper and treat a little better. But the integrated water supply program is basically trapping and collecting and diverting stormwater, which now simply finds its way sooner or later to the Gulf, and which is not a bad thing. But if we can hold it back here in Polk County, use it as recharge, use it as cleansing the water, and also supply a supply and help maintain the lake levels in the area, that's an exciting project. It's probably going to take, while it will produce the fewest number of total gallons, it's probably going to take the greatest amount of cooperation of all the elements to do that. And that means working with our city partners and rewriting or modifying some of our land use codes to steer development away from these sensitive areas, to collect the water, direct the water, and hold the water. And so that's an exciting program that it's hard to realize that we have a water shortage, particularly when we've had such rain here lately. But it's always it's a timing issue. How can we hold it in times of plenty in order to use it in times of scarcity? And this project will balance those two conflicting issues. So I'm excited to see how it unfolds and the nuances it's going to take to make it work. So it's going to be fun.
It's another important aspect. It's not only for Polk County, but improving that water quality also assists those downstream. It'll help the Charlotte Harbor estuary. It helps for other users that may be pulling water off the Peace Creek and Peace River. So it's one of those additional components that it's not just we're looking for Polk County specifically. We're also working on a project that's going to assist other users of that system.
Excellent.
Where that watershed is currently focused is kind of the southwest part of Winter Haven area. Seems to be the most logical place. That's why we call it the Peace Creek. That's where the Peace Creek is. Which is, of course, a contributory to the Peace River and downstream, as Ryan mentioned. So part of the engineering studies that are underway right now includes defining the area. What is the watershed area? What is the geography that contributes to this basin? What are the impediments that we might have to overcome? What are the land ownerships? All of those things, and truly how much can we reasonably expect to trap and treat and make available? All those calculations are underway. We've engaged engineers to do that. And I'd rather be part of that project than poking a hole in the ground. But I say that tongue in cheek, but they're all three important, but this one is a little out of the ordinary, and I'm looking forward to being a part of it.
Now, are there different treatment problems when you go lower? Does the treatment process change?
The treatment process becomes more extensive. The water quality is not that of the upper Floridan, so it requires reverse osmosis, a higher treatment capacity, and then there's residuals off that need to be taken into consideration as well. So it's not just the normal what cities are performing now with their water treatment plants. The expense will be there, will have to be accounted for, but as a viable source of water to address this capacity, that's just something that we'll have to provide for.
The long and short of it is cheap water is gone. There's no more cheap water. And we're going to have to treat water more as a truly valuable resource than just a disposable resource. Because these processes will be more expensive, and the cost of that will be blended with the cost of what we have already to mitigate that. But as time goes forward, it's going to be more expensive. A very important element of this total engagement also includes a water conservation element. And it's going to be incumbent on us to pass that word along. And we're doing it through our city and our county utility departments. The Polk Regional Water Cooperative itself does not have a connection with a retail customer. We're really acting as the wholesaler. But our city partners have retail customers, and they will be the conduit conveying conservation measures and programs to their customers, which will have the ancillary benefit of benefiting the entirety. So those who are watching, I'd encourage you to contact your local utility, whether it's Polk County Utilities or City of Lakeland or Winter Haven and Davenport and all the other players. They have water conservation programs available. And we'll be measuring the effectiveness of each of the programs so that we can put our resources on the ones that work and directing away from those that don't work.
Yeah.
But I hope and I believe we will not be in the shape that I've heard some stories in California where each residential home is allocated only 150 gallons a day to bathe, wash your dishes, wash your clothes, the bathroom facilities, and all those things we rely on. We would be irresponsible elected officials if we allowed that to happen in Polk County. So that's why we're being proactive in this result. There is no elected official in office today that will be in office when the first drop comes through this system. But it's incumbent on us to do the planning today so that we don't have that crisis 10 and 20 and 30 years from now.
Well, I think it's wonderful that not only are you doing it today, but you're casting such a broad net and have so many different plans to tackle the same issue. That's an all-encompassing solution. That's terrific. Well, thank you both for joining us, and this was really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, that's how Polk County plans to meet water needs in the future. But remember, you have an important role in water conservation today. For more information on what you can do to conserve Polk County's water resources, visit www.polk-county.net/utilities. And then click on the Conservation and Environmental tab. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the Commissioner's Report, and have a good day.